Hey Gary, here's your video from Saturday. On the left is before, any changes we made, and let's take a little look through that. Makes a good start to the backswing. The club moves away on a nice one-piece motion. But for me, the club goes a little bit too much rounded and not enough lift, which means the club gets behind you and then across you. So for me, we want more lift in the golf swing, a little bit more wrist hinge. Of course, once you get across the line, the only way to get the club back is to throw it back on line. Of course, we get the club moving away from towards the outside line of the ball. And then we can see the club coming slightly from the outside. But more importantly, once you get to there, you really hood the club face and close the thing down. On the right here, if you can look really carefully, the light wasn't too good, but if I magnify the club face position, you can see how the club face is really closed, and that's why you're going to, the toe of the club's going to dig into the ground and de-loft the club face and ultimately hook the ball on a bad one. As you swing through, you can see the club face extremely closed and whipping around. Sometimes when you hit a good one, you'll hold the club face open, whereas on the right there you have released the club head. On the left, again you release it, it starts going left. You can see that the club face, the ball's going to the left. See the club head here poking up your side, here at that angle. Okay, so on occasions when you, rather than releasing it to get it to go straight, you'll hold the club face open. So in this case the club face is squarer, but you can see your left elbow is kind of, probably chicken wing is the wrong word, but you use the left arm to hold the club face open, and there's no wrist hinge at all. There's no real swoosh of the club coming from the hinging. I'd like to see the club at that point there. We want to see the club really coming up here somewhere. Okay, let's just see what we did to change a few things. We put a few sticks down to help you, and we actually changed the grip, we changed the width of the stance, we looked at the alignment of the shoulders. And you can see on the left here, shoulders were slightly open. On the right, the shoulders felt like they were slightly closed. But for me, that's pretty square. I put a cane down in front of you so you could visualize hitting to the right of the cane. As you take the club back on this occasion, it's much more on plane. Being under the plane quite so much. But I want you to lift the club up more and try and feel as if you were hinging your wrist back. You can see the hands are in this different position as far as they're not so far behind you. Your hands are more in front of the chest on the right side here, and the club face itself is looking slightly different. So there's your backswing position there. Okay, we cock the wrist there. There's the cocking of a bit more cocking of the wrists as you went back there. So yes, it was a shorter swing as far as your arms are concerned, but your shoulder turn is still, see the one on the left there, how your shoulders turns up, the shoulder isn't turning at all. It stops there, and then the rest of it is just arms pulling across. So there's no point in going any further. And what you're doing is just putting the club into a poorer position that you have to recover somewhere on the way down. So here we go with the one on the right. We get the club set nicely. The club face looks nice and neutral too. Okay, now as you move down, that motion there is a slight correction. Is something I'd rather see the club moving in the direction to the base of this triangle rather than outside the triangle. Okay, and as you swing through the club, the club comes back down on the inside, and just inside the ball there you can see the club face square on the ball. Just go back to the one right there. That's outside. On the inside of this one here, club exits and the ball starts to the right of the target. And we'll also note that the club face angle is more on plane now with the original shaft plane. So the red line that I drew a moment ago now is almost parallel with that on the way through there. So back, and okay, so it's looking pretty similar to your original plane line here. So that's similar, it's getting better, as opposed to on this occasion it would have been coming out of there. And that's why we're making those changes in that, Gary. So lots of practice on that. So we looked at the grip to do this, we looked at the canes lifting the club and the ball position, and then lots of little shots finishing balanced. And there you go. So work hard on that, Gary, and I look forward to seeing you in a few weeks.